Hello and welcome to your daily dose of Satoshi's news. Today's day is Saturday the 3rd of May 2025. The year BSV comes alive. Branch your threads, expand your mind with treechat.ai, all your posts put on chain. Right, let's see what we've got today. Just going to go through some bits and pieces on my Twitter feed today. Desco Game says new attestation came out. There's two changes I want to highlight, and this is just about Tether. But he basically says I wouldn't even use this attestation as toilet paper. In other words, it's absolute crap. We'll just touch on the transaction history there. Funny post there from by Keir Starmer being a hypocrisy. Some threads, some Centbeat to report on. Post there from Peter Todd and from Bitcoin Magazine. And then, we'll just sort of expand on those. Raphael Laverty weighing in on it. Adam McBride. We've got a post here by Scott about the Guinness World Records and the BSV blockchain processing 152 million transactions in 24 hours. Even though that's nothing, but it's a world record right now. We've got this thread we'll go over. We'll just go over the figures quickly. A little bit of news, some 365 days of Bitcoin history, and then that'll be the end of the show. Right, let's get into it.
Greg says he's Satoshi, like a cowboy in the West, riding on the blockchain that they call the very best. 1 million strong, them transactions flying free. Just wait for the Terra node, you'll surely see.
Here we go. Right, let's look at this then. So at Desco Games, new attestation came out. And there's two changes I want to highlight. Tether is now fully located in El Salvador, which does not have a US extradition treaty. Giancarlo is now the sole administrator of $150 billion worth of Tether. $150 billion worth. He said, I wouldn't even use this attestation as toilet paper. I mean, let's just have a quick read of this. As described in the notes to the Consolidated Financial Figures and Reserve Report, certain members of the group successfully relocated from the British Virgin Islands to El Salvador in January 2025. This report refers to entities using their names, roles and jurisdictions as at the reporting date. References to are or is in respect of members of the group refer to those members as at the reporting date and are qualified by the later relocation of certain members of the group from the British Virgin Islands to El Salvador. The wholly owned subsidiaries consolidated are Tether International Limited, Tether Limited, Tether Operations Limited, Alpha Group Commodities Limited. I mean, what the hell? But it also says here, Tether International Limited, BVI, and Tether Limited, HK, that's Hong Kong, are the companies which use Tether tokens pegged to fiat currencies such as USDT and others. The companies are managing the reserves backing those Tether tokens. Only these assets are reserves backing the issued Tether tokens pegged to fiat currencies, aka Hong Kong and Bahama laws apply. Tether Investments Limited, BIV, is the dedicated vehicle for proprietary investments to sustainable energy, Bitcoin mining data, blah, 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 blah. Let's have a look at this other bit in blue. So they've just highlighted this, but Tether International AS de CV El Salvador is the company which issues Tether tokens pegged to fiat currencies such as USDT and others and manages the reserve backing those Tether tokens. What else is there? Authorised and approved by Board of Directors on the 31st of January 2025 and signed on behalf of the Board of Directors by Giancarlo Devasini and Chairman of the Board of Directors. Authorised and approved by the sole administrator Giancarlo Devasini, 30th of April 2025. It's an absolute piss take. An absolute piss take. An attestation has just come out. Honestly, it's just such a joke. But they use that to prop up the BTC Ponzi. That's this. I mean, and the regulators are heavily in it. The banks are behind it. So what's going to happen? But the fact is there's no utility there. When something is useful, it's valuable to everyone, especially when it's a commodity. Everybody will be using it. Everybody will be piling in. Literally, the only thing pumping BTC's bags is Tether. And there's a limit there's a limited as to how much they can actually pump it, because you're always having traders cashing out. You've got constant selling pressure. Whereas when you've got constant buying pressure because utility's there, you can't beat it and you can't stop it. You know? I mean, I guess this lot didn't ever think that it would come to this. They were just like, nah, we would have got rid of this by now. It won't exist. You know, it's started in 2009. It's now 2025. You know, we've got all these Olympic Games of which we're going to have, you know, satanic ceremonies in the opening ceremony. You know, we're going to perpetrate COVID on everybody. Yeah, they were like, nah, we'll have our totalitarian one world government installed by now. But it's not here, is it? It's not here just yet. I mean, they're trying hard. You know, the next thing you're going to like dim out the skies and all, they're trying to block the sun and poison everybody with toxic materials. I mean, like, jeepers. Absolutely mental. But anyway, check this out. This was the largest volume of transactions, I think, that anybody recorded. So it was 152,578,114. I think when I looked at it, the highest I got was 152,533. Whereas this is 578,000. So well done, but we must be near the top there. That's an awesome screen capture there by Natterbank 13. Right, let's have a listen to this. James Melville said, this video should be plastered everywhere. The hypocrisy is off the scale. Here we go.
Deliver. If you're not going, you can now change the country for the better. And what do? You make promises you can't keep and don't really intend to keep, and you don't do the change that's needed in the country. I feel very strongly, if you're not going to deliver, if you're not going to keep your promises, don't bullshit.
Oh, unbelievable! Unbelievable! This guy has literally just been called on his own bullshit, literally, by Reform coming in and literally just like wiping away the two globalist parties, the uniparty of their Labour and Conservatives. You know, but I mean, how stupid do they think they are? Honestly. I mean, literally, you're just like, look, it's a barefaced lie. They were just like, look, the public must be so stupid, they're never going to realise that we've promised them this, and then we actually took it away. So not only did we break our promise, we actually reverted on it and stabbed people in the back on it. You know, but people are so stupid, you know, once they stick with one party, they're never going to change. But that's showed not to be true. Not to be true. I mean, it's phenomenal. You know, change is afoot. I can smell it in the air. We'll read this thread, the George Soros mastermind thing, in just a minute. Got a report on this. This is Ace. Sempi said, thanks for your continued patience. Our engineers have estimated that the services will be functional over the weekend. That was April 25th. We're now May 3rd. So let's hope that services have been resumed. I went into my Sempi earlier today and I saw that I've actually got a few messages from a lot of people that I responded back to. So thank you very much, and sorry if I haven't responded sooner. But it's just, yeah, Sempi was down and I just hadn't checked it for ages. But thank you very much. Check this out. So I said Peter Todd now demands a tax. Only a government can tax. A Freudian slip from a deep state actor. Check this out. Look, he said, if necessary, that security model can be fixed with a demurrage or a tail emission. Not a big deal. It'll make Rabid 24 for lives. Maxie's angry, but it's not hard to fix. And then Doug Dimmadone said, yeah, that totally won't result in a dumpster fire. Investor sentiment and another hard fork. I'm 100% in favour of a tail emission, but at that point, why would I even care about Bitcoin? The reserve assets native is all that's left. And Peter Todd has said here, investors aren't that stupid. A 0.1 to 1% tax on holdings to secure those holdings is perfectly acceptable. And he's talking about either like charging a tax or like, you know, inflating the currency. But a deep state actor is like literally what literally normal person, you know, a member of the public just goes, oh yeah, the public will accept a tax. Who the fuck are you to tax the public? Like, honestly, It just goes to show you how ingrained these deep state actors are, that they actually think they're above the law and above everybody else. They're like, no, they'll accept it. You know, oh yeah, they are that stupid, because if they don't, then they are that stupid. You know, they'll accept a tax. Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. But I mean, people are starting to wake up to these scumbags. You know, the deep state actors. You know. Right, and let's get onto this article here, because this has caused quite a hubbub. So Bitcoin Magazine said, the Great Script Restoration, a path forward for Bitcoin. So this is basically core coin, Greg Coin, core developers starting to restore the scripts that they initially screwed up, because they were like, yeah, not many use it, store of value, digital dog shit, blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, you can't restore them on a chain of signatures that's already broken. Literally, the moment they implemented SegWit, their protocol became an economically worthless security offering. And you can't repair it, you can't put it back, because then you've got a central source repairing it. Oh, someone had to fix it. No, and that's your issue. Someone had to fix it. There is your central point of repair. Someone has authority over the chain. That is it. You cannot go back and repair it. That's the whole point of being a commodity. Like literally, you can't like break a branch. You can't break a twig off a branch and then try and like glue it back together. Like it's broken forever. That chain of signatures is broken. That branch is broken. It's no longer as it was. There is a central point of interference. That's the whole point. They cannot go back. And plus the fact they can't scale. And we know how long that Terranode took to build and scale. They're never going to do it. But then, it goes against everything that it's meant to be. Oh, because there's got a 1 megabyte block size. So they're gonna try and encourage utility and yet keep the 1 megabyte block size. Then they'll be like, actually, maybe we'll raise the block size a little bit. Well, if you're going to raise it a little bit, what's the difference between raising it a little bit and just getting rid of the block cap off, of everything? But they can't. The fact is, they cannot scale it. They cannot scale it. And when utility comes on the network, like Terranode is literally going to smash the block fee out of the water, and that's when miners will come running. It's too late for this lot. It's too late. I know people won't get it because they're like, it's the market price that's all important. No, not really. It's the profitability of the chain that's the most important part, because it's miners chase profit, and it's miners that economically sustain the network. That's it. It's all about the miners. And they were like, we don't need miners. We're going to go to proof of stake. Well, congratulations. If you go to proof of stake, it's not a competitive system, and it's without competition, you simply get collusion and centralization. That's it. They are fucked. This lot have absolutely fucked themselves, and they have brought it on themselves. But let's see what this article says anyway. It'd be like a propaganda piece, So they said Bitcoin, that's Gregcoin, was initially designed with a fully fleshed out scripting language intended to encompass and support any potential safe use case that users could come up with in the future. As Satoshi himself put it before he disappeared, and they're even quoting Satoshi Nakamoto here. Unbelievable. Look at this. The nature of Bitcoin is such that once version 0.1 was released, the core design was set in stone for the rest of its lifetime. Because of that, I wanted to design it to support every possible transaction type I could think of. The problem was each thing required special support code and data fields whether it was used or not, and only covered one special case at a time. It would have been an explosion of special cases. The solution was script, which generalizes the problem so transacting parties can describe their transaction as a predicate that the node network evaluates. And so that was June 17th, 2010. So look, set in stone. They're set in stone. And this lot have absolutely royally fucked it up. Means they have securitized the network forever. You cannot go back. And again, they can't scale in time anyway. But the fact that is, if this went to court and dispute arise between trading parties and blah 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 blah. They couldn't prove that they'd sent or received the transaction because there's no chain of signatures on the transaction anymore, especially not with SegWit. Now they've got Taproot implemented as well, and the fact is you can't trace the chain of signatures. It's a complete security offering. But the thing is though, they're putting this stuff in the article to make it sound like they know what they're talking about. Oh yeah, let's go point out a bit of history to make it look like we've done our due diligence. No, they're an absolute bunch of scumbags. The entire intent was to give users a general enough language that they could encompass their own type of transactions as they saw fit, i.e. give users room to design and experiment with how they program their own money. Program their own money is funny. Look, you cannot program your own money. Like, you can scale it and that is it. You can build on the existing protocol. You cannot change the protocol. Before he disappeared, Satoshi ripped out 15 of these opcodes. No, he didn't. Disabling them entirely. I don't think he did. Why would he disable them after he put them in there? Well, I'm gonna have to do some research on that myself. I think it was Core that did that. Because again, they were saying, oh, it was the 1 megabyte block cap is a feature, not a bug. No, it's absolutely a bug. It was Hal Finney, who I suspect was a CIA operative, that persuaded Satoshi Nakamoto to put it in there. It could not have been in there from the beginning, because again, that would have made it a security offering. You have to have unbounded scale, unbounded limited scaling capacity, so that limitations and restrictions can't be manufactured and the network not be manipulated. That is it. So he can't. So you can maybe put a soft cap in there, but a soft cap doesn't actually fundamentally change the protocol, because it's a soft cap. It's not hard coded in. So therefore, you still maintain the number one legacy address. And adding a hard limit to how big a piece of data could be manipulated on the scripting engine stack, 520 bytes. This was done because he frankly screwed up. Oh, look at that. They're saying Satoshi frankly. This was done because he frankly screwed up. That's outrageous. Saying Satoshi screwed up inventing Bitcoin and left open a large number of ways that complicated scripts could be used to denial of service attack the entire network, creating huge and costly to validate transactions that would crash the nodes. Not really, not back then. Because there was just simply nobody using the network and no need for it. These opcodes weren't removed because Satoshi thought the functionality was dangerous, or people should have been able to build the things they could with them, but solely, at least apparently, because of the risk to the network at large and of them being used without resource constraints to limit the worst case violation cost they could impose on the network. Every upgrade to Bitcoin since then has ultimately been streamlining the functionality left. As if Gregcoin's been streamlining functionality. What a joke. Correcting other less serious flaws Satoshi left with us. Who's been doing that? And extending the functionality of that subset of script we were left with. The great script restoration. At Bitcoin Plus in Austin at the start of May, core Lightning developer Rusty Russell made a pretty radical proposal during the first presentation of the conference. He essentially pitched the idea of turning back on most of the opcodes that Satoshi disabled in 2010 before he disappeared. I'm sure it was Blockstream that did that. I'm sure they effed it up. For the first few years since Taproot activated in 2021, the development space has been frankly kind of aimless. Well, that's because they've been told not to use it. How can you improve something that you're not meant to use? It's used less. Oh yeah, we're going to improve our store of value by making a freezing cold storage wallet. It's going to be sub-zero cold storage. Yeah, that's right. Honestly, what a load of crap. We all know that Bitcoin is not scalable enough to really service any sizable chunk of the world's population in a self-sovereign way. Oh, that is outrageous. And likely not even in a trust minimized or custodial way that can scale beyond very large custodians and service providers incapable of realizing escaping the long arm of the government. Anyone who understands Gregcoin on a technological level understands this. It's not a matter of debate. What is a matter of debate, and very contentious one, is how to go about addressing its shortcoming. Since Taproot, everyone has been putting forward their very narrow proposals intended to address only very particular use cases that could be enabled. Any prevout, APO, a proposal to allow signatures to be reused on different transactions. What the fuck? Signatures to be used on different transactions? What the fuck? As long as the script and amount of the input was the same, was tailored specifically to optimize Lightning and multi-party versions of it. Check Template Verify, CTV, a proposal to invoice coins can only be spent by a transaction that exactly matches a predefined transaction. Was designed specifically to extend the functionality of chains pre-signed transactions by making them completely trustless. OpVault was designed specifically to enable a timeout period for cold storage schemes so that a user could cancel a withdrawal from cold storage by sending it to an even colder multi-sig setup if their keys were compromised. There are a bunch of other proposals, but I think you get the point. Rather than attempting to comprehensively address the specificity and programmability needed to scale Bitcoin in a fundamental way, each of the proposals over the last few years was designed to either give a small increase in scalability or improve a single narrow functionality deemed desirable. This, I think, is the source of why none of these conversations is going anywhere. No one is happy with any other proposal because it doesn't cater to the use case they want to see built. Not many use it. Not many use it. How many times have we heard that? Nothing is comprehensive enough for anyone to think outside of the proposal originator. That is the sensible next move forward. That is the logic behind the Great Script Restoration. By pushing through and analysing a comprehensive restoration of script as Satoshi initially designed it, we can actually try to explore the entire space of what functionality we need, rather than bickering and infighting over what small extension of functionality is good enough for now. Alright, okay, opcodes. Opcat takes two pieces of data on the stack and adds them together to form one. Opsubstra takes length argument in bytes and grabs a piece of data off the stack, removing that many bytes from it and putting it back. Op left and op right takes a length argument and removes that many bytes from one side or the other of a piece of data on the stack. Op invert, op and, op or, op XOR, op upshift and op downshift take a data element from the stack and performs the corresponding bit operation on it. Op to mul and op to div, op mul, op div, op mod. Maths operators for multiplication, division and modulo operations, returning the remainder of division. The ones above are the opcodes intended to be restored. In addition to these, Rusty proposes three more simplified compositions of different opcodes. Op CTV, op TX hash, something to allow granular enforcement requiring certain parts of a transaction to be exactly as defined ahead of time. CFSF allows verifying signatures against arbitrary data rather than just the entire transaction. This allows you to require part of a script or data they use to be signed in order to be executed. And optwig verify verifies schnorr-based operations involving public keys, such as adding or subtracting individual public keys from aggregate ones. This can be used to ensure that in the event of one party leaving a shared UTXO unilaterally, everyone else's funds are sent to an aggregate public key that does not require the party to who left to sign in order to spend cooperatively. Why we want to do this? Let's have a listen to this crap. It's a big article. We'll see if we get through it. Layer 2s are inherently an extension of the base layer of Bitcoin. They are by their nature constrained in terms of functionality by the functionality of the base layer. Lightning requires 3 separate soft forks, check lock time verify and check subsequence verify, and segregated witness before it was possible to actually implement it. That's bullshit. Don't need SegWit for anything. You just cannot build more flexible layer 2s without a more flexible base layer. No, I don't buy that at all. The only shortcut around this is trusted third parties, pure and simple. That is something I hope we all aspire to remove from every aspect of interacting with Bitcoin at scale that we possibly can. Again, that's the whole point of Bitcoin. You scale the base layer so that anyone and everyone can use it, and you can program everything on it. That's why you need unbounded scale on the base layer. There are things we need to be able to do that we can't just do right now in order to safely pack more than 2 people into a single UTXO in a way that can be enforced trustlessly on the base layer. Bitcoin script is just not flexible enough. Bullshit. At the most basic level, we need covenants. We need the ability to for script to actually enforce more granular details about the transaction executing them, to ensure things like a safer, like a user safely exiting a UTXO on their own does not put others' funds at risk. At a high view, this is the kind of functionality we need. Introspection, forward data carrying, public key modification. How to make the safe? That's just bullshit. Forward momentum and all that. Yeah, we're gonna all move forward on this because we're all starting to agree now. Yeah. It's bullshit. They're literally backpedaling, is what they're doing. Massively backpedaling. And Rafael Alverde has said here, Bitcoin Core is courageously enabling opcodes and slowly expanding on-chain capacities. They are the most important big block implementation of Bitcoin. If you can't see what they're doing after they onboard the world, I can't help you. Again, 1 megabyte block cap, SegWit, not many use it, can't use it. He's talking about onboarding the world with a 1 megabyte block cap, and it's already a securitized chain, and there's nothing they can do about it, and they cannot scale it. And if they can't scale it, and again, it's miners that chase profit. Miners are not actually all that interested in number go up. It's literally the profit. They chase profits. And then because they need to cover their running costs and stuff, and then they'll sell stuff to cover the running costs and maybe keep a little bit for themselves. But it's the profitability that the miners need, not number go up. It's profitability, which is transaction volume and block fee. So it doesn't matter what this lot do to try and encourage utility on the chain. They fucked it, and they've brought it on themselves completely. And I think Terranode is probably going to come on sooner than they're able to implement these scripts on BTC Gregcoin. Yeah, I would say they're screwed. Just my personal opinion. Adam McBride said here, Gregcoin is about to pull off the biggest Trojan horse in history. Let me explain. In 2024, when the block size wars were happening, a Bitcoin core landed on the side of small blocks, completely neutralizing Bitcoin as peer-to-peer cash. Small block Bitcoin shifted Bitcoin to its current store of value narrative, which has been great for holders as the price has gone through the roof. It hasn't gone through the roof. Like literally, what, $80,000, $90,000, something like that. It's nothing compared to what Bitcoin should be now if people were actually buying it to use it. But even better, it made Bitcoin palatable to Wall Street and the US government for one reason. There was a zero chance that Bitcoin could replace the US dollar. Why? Because it couldn't scale into a global payment network with small blocks, literally impossible. Feeling comfy, they allowed the Trojan horse to be brought inside the castle walls. The Bitcoin Strategic Reserve happened, ETFs and Wall Street selling Bitcoin to your mum. Everyone owns Bitcoin now. They don't realize Bitcoin Core is about to open up the Trojan horse and release the Bitcoin that the big blockers were fighting for in 2014. Bitcoin we teeth, peer-to-peer digital cash at Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is already inside the castle walls. There's almost nothing Wall Street or the US government can do to stop it. All right, so what they're saying is that this was the plan all along. They were just going to cap the block size, make sure that governments and all that weren't really too bothered about it, and then when they accepted it because they're all comfortable with it, and snuggling up with it, they're all right. Well, now it can be used for cash because because nobody minds it. So that's the narrative that they're going to try and spin on this, But the fact is, they don't understand that if that's what they were going to do, they wouldn't have securitized the network. They've absolutely fucked themselves. But anyway, I mean, it's quite a good story. If you're a shitcoiner with shit for brains, that's quite plausible. It's plausible deniability is what this bullshit article here is. Literally, they're trying to explain themselves. Plausible deniability. But they're just lying. They'll just make shit up. If there was plausible deniability, there's no way they would have broken the chain of digital signatures. They're fucked. They're absolutely fucked. Check this out. Loving this. So Scott has said, I've just requested that Guinness World Records and Guinness World Record Japan and Guinness World Record... I guess that's España. Guinness World Records recognises the phenomenal achievement set by the BSV blockchain in becoming the highest amount of transactions in a 24-hour period with over 153 million transactions. But again, I mean, Terranode has already done this on a public blockchain, but that public blockchain didn't have a native token on it that had a market price at the time. Whereas the significance about this is that this is on a public blockchain with a native token that already has a market price. And it just so happens to be the original Bitcoin that goes back to the legacy address. Or the Genesis block with the number 1 legacy address. He continued, I would ask others to request this record. And I'd ask people who actually made this record happen to also apply to Guinness for the certificate. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Nice one, Scott. See, loving that. An entrepreneurial mindset. How can we promote this? Let's get involved with the Guinness World Records. Loving that. Loving that. Right, let's have a look at the 31 minutes already. I wanted to read this thread, actually. Look at this thread. George Soros, the mastermind. Today's systems of... that's non-government organisations, isn't accidental. It was laid out in the vision 30 years ago by none other than George Soros. I joined Mike Ben Cyber on their live stream last night where he was kind enough to walk us through the basics. As my bio says, I'm just a tool builder. I'm not a historian or academic. The information in this thread is common knowledge for many. It wasn't for me. I want to walk you through an essay which Mike pointed to me, a chilling essay written in 1993 by George Soros towards a new world order, the future of NATO. Okay. And that's a North American treaty organization, something like that. Toward a new world order, the future of NATO. Oh my goodness me. The essay lays out a new mission for NATO after the Cold War. NATO would no longer be a defensive alliance against Russia. That is obsolete. Instead, it would proactively go out and shape other countries into open societies. Again, creating a new world order, fucking everything up. NATO's mission is best defined in terms of open and closed societies. Soros redefined peace and security. Yeah, that's like what sort of like Islam is trying to do. We'll redefine peace and peace and love by just chopping your head off if you don't agree with what we're saying. Soros redefined peace and security not as absence of war, but in terms of how many countries are open societies. Peace and security depend first and foremost on a successful transmission to an open society. In other words, NATO's new mission, if a country doesn't adopt Western-style capitalism and liberalism, NATO should step in politically, economically, and eventually militarily. There we go. Just totalitarian takeover is what it is. Look at that. And that was written in 1993. They laid out how they're going to do it, all through non-government organisations, corporations and stuff like that. Right, yeah, so the dissolution of monarchy. Corporate control. Scary shit. Bitcoin's the only way out of it. Anyway, let's have a quick look at these figures then. So we got Bitcoin is $37. Transactions set 97% of all the Bitcoin forks. 94% of the block size. Let's have a look at some of these blocks coming through. Oh, beautiful. 210. 185, 154, 191, 215. Look at that. Massive blocks. Currently 36,000 times cheaper to transact on Bitcoin and Gridcoin. Mining Bitcoin at a 9.4% comparable loss. However, 9.6% more profitable to mine on Fish Price Cash over Gridcoin. 1.5% more profitable to mine on Gridcoin over Bcrash. That's quite funny. Let's have a look at the pie charts, because the mining is where the politics is, or the mining pie charts. So Gridcoin hash rate other miners 8.3 on there. Bcrash other miners 42.3. Fish Price Cash not bothered. Bitcoin, so CoinDance has got pro hashing on this chart here. So let's just have a quick look at this. So confirmed transactions going down from a high of 152 million to 17 million, but still 17 million, you know, compared to the rest of the market. It's crazy. Here we go. Yeah, so we've got Tal, Cuve, QD-Link, SA100, Gorilla Pool, Mining Dutch, and Pro Hashing. That's 7 miners on there now. 7 miners. Loving that. Still op return doing most of the transactions. Great stuff. Right, let's just have a quick listen to this. This ties into George Soros's New World Order. You know, let's have a listen.
Okay. You're saying they're brainwashing. Okay, you're saying these people that are experts in brainwashing is using the Department of Education to brainwash our children.
Yes.
What are they after? Why are they doing it?
Well, if you want to move a country from a free individualistic economy,
Which we have.
yes, or had,
Or had. Okay.
to a planned economy, you have to do it through the schools. You have to dumb down and brainwash, change the attitudes and values. You have to completely, social engineering has to go on constantly, and many teachers know what I'm talking about. And people are going to say, well, when did this start? And who on earth ever did this? Why would a plan like that be allowed to be carried out?
That's right.
Well, then you have to go back to 1934, which I will do, and we have to go to the three-pronged fork, okay? So I do think that the watershed year, although you can go back to the early part of the century when the Rockefeller Foundation and the Carnegie Corporation were deeply involved in education, and that it was decided then that Carnegie would deal with the international part and Rockefeller domestic. So they commissioned the American Historical Association to put together a study of the social studies, and they came up with lots of volumes, but I have one little volume, Conclusions and Recommendations for the Social Studies. And basically that little one is an original book. I wish I'd brought it with me. Too bad. But I don't even dare let it out of the house. It's so important. It called for changing the United States through the schools from a free individualistic economy to a socialist, collectivized, planned economy in the New World Order.
It says that in the book.
Yes.
And that book was written when?
In 1934.
By who?
It was the Carnegie Corporation paid for it. The American Historical Association put it together. And
Can people get that book in the library?
no. No, they can't. They were very instrumental in getting the Elementary and Secondary Education Act passed, which, as I said before, changed education from knowledge, content-based, academic, to performance-based behavior. And from that time on, because that was necessary for what we're looking at now with school to work agenda is the planned economy is performance-based.
So they're training workers.
They're training
not
little
thinkers,
worker
not
bees.
leaders.
Exactly. At that time, you had a general, Buck Chisholm, a Canadian general psychiatrist, who was a very close friend of Alger Hiss's. And he gave a speech in 1945 to the World Health Organization, which basically recommended getting rid of the conscience.
Wow.
Yes. And he said we would do it through the schools. We would retrain the teachers to be little psychiatrists. He said it is an international system they're looking at. They're going to change the behavior of the children. They're going to change the teachers' training. They're going to do everything. He told them everything.
And they didn't believe him?
No, they just let, well, you know what goes on.
Wow. Look at that. I mean, these plans have been literally in the making for like, hundreds of years, all following an extremist religious ideology that started 3,000 years ago. And now we're literally staring at it head on. Jeepers, right. A little bit of 365 days of Bitcoin history. So on the 3rd of May 2009, there was a second email in the Marty Malmi emails between him and Satoshi. Email 2 and 3 was May. Let's have a quick look. That was from Satoshi Nakamoto to Marty Malmi. He said, all right, I can do the website and the frequent asked questions. I'll start writing the frequent asked questions now with the questions that I can think of. I have a feature suggestion for a program, a UI tool for creating a password protection, private keys and saving them into a custom location. And again, I don't think Craig was aware of how nefarious Marty Malmi and the whole space was just then. I think he had an inkling, but I don't think he knew just how bad it was. May 3rd, 2014, the first known NFT called Quantum was minted on May 3rd, 2014 by digital artist Kevin McCoy and Anil Dash, and later in 2021 sold via Sotheby's for $1.47 million. And this was it. This was that there was the NFT called Quantum. And again, if you sort of look at the article, it sort of changed color and all that, the NFT, fascinating stuff. There we go. So that's your little bit of 365 days of Bitcoin history, and that's the end of the show. 41-minute long one today. I hope you enjoyed it. So as ever, if you enjoyed these updates, please ding all donations for your appreciation to either Satoshi@Semi.com, Handcash.io, Rockwallet.me, Simply.cash, Relasia.com, or Senti.ch. We'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed it. As ever, be aware, take care, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one.
2 years ago, you got SegWit, which we lied and cheated and stealed, and I was part of the lying and cheating and stealing to get SegWit, to get Lightning, which, by the way, had critical vulnerabilities and lost people's money.
The king still has one more move.